Yeah, we are live. We are live. What up, everybody? What up? Welcome, damn it, welcome to another home team huddle. Listen, guys, today we got a great one for you. All right, make sure you got your notepads out, something to take notes, because this particular episode right here is going to be something that you guys are really going to want to remember. All right. So today's show is called Who is the Boss? We are going to have a show like this pretty much once a quarter. It's basically our top gun, our top performer in many ways when it comes to units and volume for the last quarter. All right. I appreciate this guy for coming on today. Remember, guys, the content that we spew here is for nothing but your growth and development. You already see him. He's on the screen. We're live. Chris Allessio, thank you so much for being on the show today, brother.
No doubt. Appreciate you having me. Hopefully, I'll add some value to the show.
Hell yeah, man. So how you doing? How's everything?
I'm good, man. Another day in the trenches. That's what we do here.
That's what we do. That's what we do. Well, look, man, I got a lot of questions lined up for you. Definitely want to get right into it. I know you're busy, right? So talk to me, man. What made you become a loan originator?
Well, it's not something you just wake up one day and then say you're going to become a loan officer, right? You know, when I come from a long lineage of entrepreneurial small business owners. So life after college was a mixed bag of, especially from a career perspective, it was like a mixed bag of like hopping around to different sales jobs and, figuring things out. And, but I always, I worked a little bit corporate America. I worked a little bit in, small mom and pop startup shops. And when I was in my mid 20s, at the time, I met a group of guys that ended up becoming my business partners, and we built a company. We started a company, third party fulfillment center, which is basically like if you guys see that stuff like the Amazon clips that or YouTube clips that people are buying and selling goods on Amazon and doing third party fulfillment. So we started that business. We kicked it off. And it was literally just a couple of us that threw in a few dollars. We were in our 20s and we figured it out. So we grew that in a matter of a few years from like zero to $50 million in sales. And it was crazy. It was just like, it was my legit MBA, like boots on the ground, real MBA experience. So with that, I learned a lot of lessons. That I always say that's where I really cut my teeth. Learning about sales, learning about customer service, learning about, raising capital, accounting, just a whole wide variety because everything, you wear so many hats as a small business owner. So fast forward a few years, I just, the business was extremely lucrative, but I just wasn't passionate about the work and I was just not fulfilled. So, when you're young, I think a lot of us can relate to this. When you're young and, you don't have a lot of responsibilities or obligations, you can take risks that are different. And, maybe they're not sometimes as calculated, although I think that risk was relatively calculated, but I took a shot on doing something and it worked out. But maybe if I was a little older and I had other responsibilities, things change, right? So at the time I was, when I ended up marrying my wife at the time and then having a family, that whole conversation changed dramatically as far as, what do you want to do? If you're not passionate about what you're doing every day and you spend most of your wake hours in working, you should be at least passionate about what you do. And you should also be fulfilled with what you do. And neither one of those things were checking those boxes for me. So I knew that I always had a knack for real estate. I just didn't know what facet I wanted to get into. So I chose the path of getting into real estate. And it actually started with John Palumbo. Big shout out to him because he's really the top dog, as everyone knows here, definitely with the home team. And him and I were having drinks one night and he was like, yeah, man, he's like, you should be a lender. He's like, you're built for this. And really, I didn't even think I was going to do that, but I was more already investing in real estate, and I was just like flipping houses and buying rental properties, and trying to position my exit with the business. So what I had did is, I got married, I had my first kid. So like at that point, responsibilities and obligations changed dramatically in my life. So everything now became about calculated risk and calculated decisions. So I knew that if I was going to make a change, it had to be a pivot, and it couldn't be a 90-degree turn to really disrupt things. So when I started investing in real estate, okay, let me replace my income. When I can replace my income from flipping and the rental properties, then I'll make a play, which I was able to end up doing, and I was able to structure a buyout, like selling the company, my shares to the company, and structure a buyout to completely exit amicably. And it was I literally was down and out, and I went to a Tony Robbins event, and like Tony Robbins just was like, you know what I mean? Like you come out of there, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna walk on the moon. I'm gonna lift up a car. I'm gonna do all that. Like you could come out of there and you literally walk on coals and on fire, and that was like a big position. That was a big point in time where like it really changed my career. After that, I always knew I had it in me that I could choose and do whatever I wanted to do if I put my mind to it. But like coming out of Tony Robbins just gives you this boost of like confidence and clarity, and making sure you write down your goals and things like that. So that allowed me to exit. And around that time, I was like hanging out with Palumbo, and Palumbo was like, "Yeah, man, this is what you need to do." And I was like, "I don't really know." But he's a good salesman. So when you're listening to Palumbo, he's just like, he makes it seem very. He breaks it down for you, and he's never selling, right? So he's just kind of like offering advice and guidance. But he saw the potential in me to come into this industry. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be here. So yeah, that was it. I positioned a structure buyout and left. And then I told Palumbo, I said, listen, I don't really want to, whatever I choose to go into, because my last career, it was like I accidentally was in the right place and the right time in history, that I was like, I know I don't want to work for corporate America. Let me go and be an entrepreneur. And then we built that business and we started doing very well. But then this next go round, I wanted to choose my path and choose my destiny, and not have somebody else or accidentally fall into the role and say, oh, well, now I'm doing this, and this is just what I wake up and do every day. I wanted to pick and choose what I did. And so I told Palumbo, I said, if I go into this, I'm going to give it, my all. And like, that's it. And he was just like, I think that's a great idea. So I continued to do the real estate investing, which I still do today. And then I also just, went and banged out my license, the test in the first try, which I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. It was pretty damn hard, which I actually didn't pass by that many questions. I think I was off by like 2 or 3 before I would have failed, but whatever, I passed. I take that as a W.
Well, yeah, it don't matter.
And then honestly, yeah, went into lending.
Man, there's a couple key parts of what you just said, man. But I want to hang on the Tony Robbins part, because a lot of us, forget, man, this is a cyclical business. We do what we can to keep it as consistent as possible and keep it growing. But even the top producers, you know what I mean? Sometimes there has to be that investment in yourself to bring yourself up. You know what I mean? That was a decision that you made, to go to Tony Robbins and sit there and get that motivation and get that inspiration. You know what I mean? So that's beautiful, man. So no matter the market, right? Message for the LOs, man. No matter the market, first you feel a certain way, you already know you're not by yourself here at the home team. Reach out, touch somebody. But at the end of the day, there is that part that you have to invest in yourself. So, man, would you say that your experience, right, sets you aside from everybody else? Is that the real difference maker of Chris Allessio as a LO versus everybody else?
I mean, I definitely think it has a big part to it. Everyone's got their own unique journey of how they got to where they are. And, me taking on certain roles early in my life definitely makes my experience more unique, or at least to me, in the sense that, I think honestly what separates us, because I'm a firm believer, and you'll hear me say this to everybody in my office, you'll hear me say this to my kids, you'll hear me say this to anybody I meet in the street, is that I think that all things can be learned, such as you want to be an LO, I think you can learn to be an LO. You want to be a title rep, you can learn to be a title rep. You want to be a sports therapist, you can be a sports therapist. But what you cannot train and what you cannot learn is how to be driven and focused. Like, we can give pointers to people and say, like, hey, like, you really need to, like, dial in and really show up. But I can't motivate you. And money is a lot of times only a limiting factor for motivation too. There's a cap there. Like, because once you start making money, like, okay, now you're feeding the beast, but like, does the money even make you happy more? Does that motivate you? So like, I personally believe that that's something that is like internal. And I'm just unbelievably motivated every day when I wake up. Even the days I took, yesterday, I'm not to go down a rabbit hole, but yesterday was like a terrible day for me. I had the worst day, and it rolled into everything I did. And I had to like pick up the phone, still talk to the clients, and act like you're the only one that I'm talking to. You are my only client, give them my full attention. But the whole time I'm dreading it. So I'm like, whatever. And then, like, you know what? I woke up today and I was like, it doesn't really matter because today's a new day. Let me just kind of put on my face. I come into the office and I still give it my all. So I try to stay motivated, which is not always easy because, like, we're all human. But like, the motivation and the drive is really kind of what I feel is part of my experience. Is like, I know nobody's going to outwork me.
Hell yeah. Keep doing what you're doing, but nobody's gonna outwork me. That's fantastic. So, man, let's give these guys some tips, man. Let's give these guys some nuggets, right? Let's talk a little bit of strategy, right? Let's talk a little bit of strategy, Chris. Give us some strategies on, things that you're doing, specific things. You know what I mean? Are you picking up the phone more? Are you going more to networking events? Are you doing it organically, right? Like, what kind of nuggets do we got for these guys?
All right, so like, honestly, there's no secret sauce. Legit. So I tell this to everybody in the office too. We have a thing here in Totowa. It's like, show up. Just straight up show up. Because so much action happens in the office. If you're fortunate enough to be around one of the offices where there's a lot of people coming in, you should all show up. There's zero excuse for that. Because the energy that's in the office is what keeps us all going. We share ideas. We share pitfalls, customer experiences, guidelines, operational issues, how we're getting over things. Literally, the office is the pulse on what is going on. That is my pulse on the street, right? So what you're seeing is a culmination of compounding interest. I have just been kind of going at it in a lot of the same ways that I've been doing for all these years. It's just now it's starting to see a lot more compounding interest. So what does that consist of? Like, legit, first of all, I show up in the office every single day, unless I'm out for whatever reason. But like, I'm typically in and I'm the last one out, either first in or last out. That's not every day, but a lot of days. So like, during the refi boom, I was here till literally, I would be here till 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Not that I couldn't do that at home, but I knew here I was like dialed in, focus. I had no distractions. So I could do that here. I go to networking events at least once a month, a lot of times twice a month. Okay. On the regular, whether that's personal development networking events, or that is like business networking events that I'm a sponsor or I'm a speaker on a panel, or I'm involved with in the event in some way, shape, or form. I talk to my referral partners every day. I make them feel like they are the ones that are the most important. I try my best to make them money. To every time that they send me a lead, that I take that as like, hey, that's money calling. That's money who I have to call, and I have to pre-approve them. And I keep them updates on what's going on with the files. I always try to make myself be positioned a little bit better than the other LO that is on the street, right? So I want to always make sure that, they're getting the updates, they're feeling important, their clients, if it's a troubled file, it's a really shitty file, I want them to know how bad it is and how they know that I'm going to get it to the closing table. I always say to my referral partners that, like, in the beginning, you got to trust me. We got to build trust. I don't just want you to give me your trust. I want to earn your trust. But once I've earned your trust, you'll know that, like, the second that deal gets passed on over to me, that, like, I have this in my pipeline, this will get across the goal line. I want you to now go back out and hunt. And I want them to be able to feel comfortable to take their mindset off of, like, having to tend to that deal. That they can kind of put it on the back burner, knowing that it's being they've hunted it, and or maybe together we've hunted it, but I'm going to farm it, and my team is going to farm it. My LOA, my processors are going to farm it, and we're going to make sure it gets to the goal line. That way, no fruit dies on the vine. I need to make sure that, like, they're earning money, and if they're not going to come back to me. So that's just providing a lot of value. And literally a lot of those things are pretty much core practices for me. And you're just going in and you're doing it on a regular basis. I try to really also build rapport with everybody, whether it's a client or whether it's a referral partner or whatever. You have to build rapport. You have to separate yourself and make the other people feel that you can, like, I always say, if you're a CEO or, like, you just got out of prison, I'm going to find literally, I'm going to find common ground. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, pick something out of their file that you can relate to, but be genuine about it. You know what I mean? Be absolutely genuine. And then, like, it will come off genuine. If you come off fake, it will come off fake. And maybe some people won't catch it, but a lot of people will. And then they'll be like, this guy's selling me. So I try my best. And this is not easy. This is sales tactics they take a long time to develop. But if you talk to a lot of clients and you do a lot of files, and over the years, they start to become second nature, where you're not ever really selling somebody. You're trying to just provide options and offer advice. And then you become more of, like, their advisory. So whether it's my agents or, like, the clients, I become their advisor. And a lot of them call me to talk about shit that's nothing business related. They call me about, like, personal problems, or, like, you end up or like, how to structure something that I'm not involved in, which I'll still offer my advice because I'm just adding value. And you have to be okay with that. You're not going to eat on every transaction or eat on every deal or eat on every phone call, but they know that you're in it for the long haul. And then those people that are going to feed you keep coming back to feed you because they know that you can deliver, and you're a closer.
Hell yeah. Dimes, Chris. You're dropping dimes. I mean, look, sticking with the referral partners, right? Like, we know our main referral source is what? Realtors, right? So we know where their value is. If we can take all the headache off them, all the trust, right? Because it's really a trust thing. They want to still control the deal. They want to get documents for you. They almost want to qualify the bar. Stay in your lane. If we know that a realtor's value and our main referral source's value is on the streets, getting us more business, that trust that you just spoke about, man, it's everything. Go back out, get us more customers. Know that when it comes to a home loan, just like you said, that's money coming in. The building rapport, absolutely. Like-minded individuals are the ones that are really going to be able to do business with. Two reasons, right? They like and they trust you. That's why they do business with you. Let's switch gears from our referral source, right? Teamwork's everything, man. And here at Home Team, I teach it to the guys all the time, man. Our house, if you can't make it here, it's just like the New York vibe. You can't make it anywhere, man. But there is a part of it that we have to pass the baton. Man, it's a relay race. We have our loan assistants, we got our processors, we got our underwriters. A lot of people grab that baton. Chris, talk to me about teamwork. Talk to me about how things changed for you, let's say operationally, and how do your relationships with operations, how real are those relationships?
I mean, listen, I say it all the time. I'm legitimately only as good as the team that I'm around by. So, I show up I'll show up in the office because the relationships that are here in this office are just as vital as the ones that are back in operations as well. So, a while back, I implemented doing pipeline calls with my processor. That was back in the freedom days, and it really allowed me to kind of like dial in and like figure out what was important and like have deal flow and things like that. So I had which I still use to this day. It's not the most robust, and I'm trying to go to Salesforce, but I still have this Excel sheet that like I'm constantly living and breathing in, and it's my pipeline of leads and also referral sources, and also pipeline, what's actually active in the pipeline. And I have those conversations and those pipeline calls with my processor on the regular. We're always communicating what's important, what should you prioritize, and then it helps set the expectations of what needs to be done in the week or the month, so that way we can start forecasting the month. I always try to forecast my month of what deals are in the pipeline, which ones are actually going to close that month, and then I can prioritize with the processor. George, my LOA, he's a G. He's come a long way in a short period of time, and him and I, we sit side by side, so we're constantly talking, we're constantly figuring things out, we're working through the fires. I talk to Shields probably every day. He hates my phone calls, I know it, but that's okay. Eddie, I talk to multiple times a day. Like it's really hard for me to turn it off because it's just my personality. So like when I dial in, I dial in. So like, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Friday is no different to me than a Monday at 9 a.m. I'm hustling. And Eddie's getting those calls at 5, 6 o'clock on a Friday, and so are Shields. And they're like, do you relax? Do you chill? And like, I do check out sometimes, you know what I mean? But I always have these questions. So like I leverage the experts, right? And if you like Thomas Edison, there's famous quotes about him that saying like, I don't need to know everything, but like I'm surrounded around a team that does know everything. So if I need to figure out the answer to something, I push a button and then I'll get the answer to it. So like if it allows me to leverage by calling Eddie and figuring out something before I put something in writing, then like I'll talk to Eddie about it and then we'll try to figure out what the solution is. Same with Shields. Shields is really, really, really smart about constructing when it comes to the, rates and how to, in the beginning when we're getting used to the systems here, it's like a lot of little things like, can you AMI totally changes the whole game. Like if you're able to get the borrower under a certain, threshold of income, changes their rate, changes the points. It really makes you look like a superhero. So like by talking to them on a regular basis, it's helped. I definitely think they give me a little bit more attention than I probably need sometimes, but you know what I mean? Like I try to leverage them, whenever, and again, showing up. Cause like Palumbo, I'm always picking his brain too. He's just been doing it for so long and he's seen a lot. So like I leverage what's in the office, but I call everybody. Like if I know Juan has seen a deal because I've heard him talk about it before, I'm going to call Juan. If I've talked to everybody on the home team, people, the veterans in the home team, I'll regularly hit them up to be like, hey, what do you think about this? Have you ever experienced something like this? And like we share information. So, that's it. We're open books. So it goes out for anybody on the call. If you got questions, just ask them,
It's beautiful that you say that, man, because that point is missed. It's missed so much. Like all of these people are approachable. You could reach out and touch anybody. I've had, 0 to 100, courses with 40 people in them. And I've had, Brian, Juan, put up their phone numbers. Talk about, give us a call. We'll drive around. Brian's always on the street. He's like, come on, I'll ride with you. You pick me up. Like, man, that's a beautiful thing that you can go ahead and get all those blessings before anything goes down. Just like you calling them on a Friday at 6 o'clock. I tell these guys different. I'm like, who's going to open your file on a Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Is your LOA going to open it? Is your processor going to open it? These are the type of relationships that I'm talking about, real relationships. You know what I mean? People that go above and beyond. Man, I got one more, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Look, your growth is everything. The volume, the units, completely remarkable. What do you do to invest in yourself? Stay on top of the game. Make sure you're still growing. Make sure you're still perfecting your craft. Like what dimes could we give these guys? Whether that's, opening up the internet and going into MBS Highway, or looking at Housing Wire, or having Bloomberg open? Like, what are the things that you do to invest in your professional growth?
So personal development is very near and dear to me, and I think that everybody should invest in themselves personally, whether that's spending money to go to an event, or the most inexpensive things of just reading and listening to audiobooks. But so I'm a big fan of reading, listening to audiobooks on the regular, um, attending a lot of events that specifically are geared towards personal development to set your mindset, because mindset's everything. It's the 80% mindset, 20% mechanics. That's really big. And then regardless of what happens in your industry, or whatever, regardless of what happens in your career, nobody can ever take that away from you, and that like will remain with you personally into your personal life, regardless of your professional life. So big fan of that and an advocate of it also. Uh, I invest in a lot of real estate. That's the name of the game for me. Long term, generational wealth. That's what one of the main reasons why I got into the game. So what you guys don't see on the front lines is that in the back, and behind the scenes, is that I'm always looking at deals. I'm analyzing the market. I basically also wear a hat where I'm semi a realtor too, but I'm not a realtor. So like I'm looking at deals and I'm analyzing deals on a regular basis. And that's a lot of the times why the realtors call me, is to pick my brain about how do they even structure an offer, because I'm constantly trying to sharpen my skills and on how do you acquire, how do you renovate, how do you stabilize rent, how do you appreciate value, and then how do you kind of like rinse and repeat and do it all over again. So that investment on that part of my life, when I'm not doing loans, is I'm doing that. You know what I mean? In conjunction with, everything else that I'm doing. But like that's a big part of it. So that, and I strategically chose that role. That's why getting into lending was a strategic choice for me, because it was really important for me to understand this part of the business. I understood a decent amount about being a realtor. I understood a decent amount about doing title. Looking at so many contracts personally helps me analyze different deals. And then also the lending side, which is huge. That's another big piece of the puzzle. So like by doing that, they're all ancillary to one another, and they're complementary as well. So when you're looking at all these things, you're not just securing and helping yourself and your family's future by getting into that sort of whether it's one property, whether it's two properties, or whatever. But I'm also able to you know I'm also able to be a little bit more valuable to my clients, because you're practicing what you preach. So, and I'm also like, sharing my pitfalls as well. So I really try to invest and do a lot of that, which leads right into the lending. And then basically one is always complementing the other, and one I'm learning for other mistakes or wins. I can kind of, they kind of go hand in hand for both sides of the industry. So whatever people are doing, this is your day job, quote unquote, even though we don't clock in, clock out as loan officers. We're kind of 24/7 people. But like if for me, what worked was, and what's working is like investing in real estate. And I highly, highly, suggest that you guys do the same, even if it's one rental property, or like getting your first home. If you're a loan officer and you haven't bought your first home yet, that's okay. But when you do, you're going to be that much savvier as a loan officer, because then you personally actually went through the process yourself. You know what it's like to fill out your own application and like get your credit checked, and then like know what your DTI is. It makes you better. You understand your own self now, and then where the road is going to take you. But like, you got to also practice what you preach. It's like when the realtor is telling you to go buy your investment property and they don't even own their primary. It's like, they may be right, but why should I listen to you? So there's little things like that I think that are investing in your future, financially as well as, professionally, that you can do. And if anybody's got questions about stuff like that and they want to know where to get started or how to get into it, or they're already into it and they're looking to scale it up, reach out, let's talk, let's collaborate. That shit really drives me, and it gets me excited to talk about the conversation.
One of the biggest messages that I can remember some of our leadership, saying when we've had several meetings is the fact that our success is not only ours. You know what I mean? We pay it forward. We pay it forward to our family. We pay it forward to those people that we care about, and those people that we want to bring up. Right now, they say it best: no matter how much you want to bring somebody up, it's really on them to try to come up with you. But that paying it forward mentality, man, offering yourself the phone numbers. I've been saying it, man. Go to Gold Mountain. If you're an LO on here and you're thinking a certain type of way, or even if you're successful and you want to scale, talk to these people, reach out, go to Gold Mountain. We all compete against each other. We know that, right? But we all wear the same colors. It's a beautiful thing. I say it all the time. Chris, man,
If I could just leave with one thing I want to say.
do it.
So, Kobe Bryant, he's amazing. If you guys ever go on YouTube, go on TikTok, go and listen to some of his motivational stuff. That dude is amazing. God rest his soul. He would never be outworked by anybody. He wasn't. Everyone's like, "Oh, how are you so good? How are you?" He just put in the time. He showed up. He practiced 3 times a day when his other teammates were practicing once a day. And over time, if you hit it, I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? So there's an expression that like we always is mat time. How many hours do you have on the mat?
Chill, right? You got the cauliflower here?
No.
Don't
Thank
mess
God,
with
no. But no, so like your mat time is the same thing as like court time for him. So how many hours you put in during the day, if you show up in the office and you put in a solid 8 hours a day and you're working those 8 hours, you're not just like hitting the water cooler, taking the bathroom breaks, going on lunch. Like if you're actually dialed in for those 8 hours, after 1 year, how much better are you going to be? How much better are you going to be than the next guy? Because you just have more hours. You put in more time than that person. I know it's a grind, but like then times that by 5 years. You know what I mean? I've only been licensed since 2018. So, I mean, I still got a lot to learn. You know what I mean? I only got my license in 2018. But I knew when I got in, I was like, I'm dialing in. So you just got to put in more time to show us. So the Kobe thing is that he did 3 training sessions a day. He woke up, he did his like 5 a.m. to like 7, came back 8, cleaned up. He did his like 12 to 2, came back 8, chill. And then he would do like 6 to 8. And he would do that like regularly. So his court time, his hours on the court were just dramatically. So he was just better just by compounding interest. So it's no different. You can translate that to any industry.
Mad respect he had. He knew who the GOATs were. If he wanted to shoot better, he would reach out to Bird, right? And you see that on that documentary too. If he wanted to shoot better, he would reach out to Bird. He would reach out to Magic. Obviously, he would reach out to Jordan. I mean, Jordan, when he gave his, I believe it was his eulogy and stuff like that, Jordan said he used to call him at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? To try to get better. Guys, you have GOATs in this house. Go to Gold Mountain. If you guys want to reach out to Chris, he's already said it. I feel he'd be a great mentor for anybody, from not only the LO and the mortgage knowledge, but from the entrepreneurial spirit that he has and that knowledge and those dimes that he just dropped. Man, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today, man. For real. Can't thank you enough. Excited for you, man. Happy for you. All the success. I mean, man, I see it. I know it's a grind, brother, but geez, man, hats off to you. Hats off to you.
Appreciate the opportunity, the platform. Anything I can do for the team, anything I do for the individuals. If you guys got questions, reach out. Don't be shy.
Heck yeah. You heard it first. Chris, thanks again, man. Guys, that is today's episode of Home Team Huddle. coming right back at you on Monday. It's going to be a great one. Watch your emails. I'm going to go ahead and send out the teaser Monday morning, first thing. And then the rehashed team over the overall team mid-year meeting is going to be on Tuesday. And then we're right back to home team huddle on Wednesdays. Guys, it's your boy, Big Easy, bringing you nothing but the best content. Thanks a lot, and we'll see y'all next time. I tried, bro.